Welcome to another session. I hope you are well. I have just 14 minutes in today's session with you. I want to make it as meaningful as I can. I will go and try to be as brief as I can. This is directed towards men. It's going to be rather direct. Let me preface the conversation by saying it comes from a good place. Um, I'm an advocate for men. I want men to succeed, but it means I have to hold you accountable and hold your foot to the fire when I think is necessary. I'd like you to take the conversation that ensues as something coming from a friend, a big brother, someone who cares and wants the best for you. Now, without any further ado, let me start as follows. I have been rather perplexed, surprised, and puzzled by this OnlyFans experience that most people find themselves in. Let me be more specific. I am not talking about people who produce content for the purpose of entertaining people that is non-sexual. I'm not speaking about people who produce content and have the opportunity to connect with people who support them, especially those who are non-sexual. I'm speaking specifically to the sexual side of things. My puzzlement, and the reason I'm puzzled, is primarily because I hold men responsible when things go awry. Every nation, every country, every society is built on the character of the men. Now we make mistakes. I have made many mistakes. We fall down, we get back up. This is simply a call to say get back up and stop fooling around. The reason I'm puzzled by this whole bubble issue with OnlyFans is for a number of reasons. Number one, someone said to me the other day that a certain group of women are making so much money from OnlyFans, and a larger majority of women are not making anything, but they're giving the same content. It reminds me of my channel. Let me use myself as a good example. If you look at the number of subscribers I have, it's pitiful. It's a pitiful number. There are people on YouTube that have amassed a great number of subscribers, people who follow them and people who support them. There's a big difference. In OnlyFans, you provide sexual imagery, videos, exploits of yourself in the hope that you will get something in return, financial. We have something called the 199 paradox principle. 1% of people are making more money than the 99% of other content creators. Now, but this is not a conversation. Today is not a conversation about the female. More power to them. In the session that I cover next week, I hope to start next week or within a month, I am going to provide a contrast about this whole OnlyFans thing, because one of the things I've observed is women are following their instinct for more, to express themselves, but also to provide for themselves. So I don't fault them for that. What they simply need is an argument on both sides so that they can understand the trade-off they're making and to make sure that they do not focus on short-term benefits at the risk of their long-term success and future. I hold the men behind the money responsible. 99% of all the content are consumed by men. So I am puzzled. In most cases, some of these boys, some of these young men, some of these old men have no social skills, but are subscribing to something that doesn't add any value to them, all things remaining equal. Now, it's fair exchange. Fair exchange is no robbery, so I support people willingly coming into a transaction for some mutual benefit. However, we have to be responsible as men. Whenever a nation falls, whenever a nation succeeds, go back in time and move forward in time, there will be a man. The moral character of the men in a nation determines the long-term success of that nation. Now, one of the reasons I'm speaking to men about this is simply to say, I have been surprised that a lot of young men are subscribing to female OnlyFans account for the purpose of seeing the women, whether that be in pictures or videos, at a monthly subscription price. A lot of these boys will not buy a book. So you have young men who, some do not have jobs. So the money is being given to them by their loved ones. And they're subscribing for £7.99, £4.99, £10.99, whatever it might be. But these boys walk past a bookshop. They walk past libraries that are free. They walk past bookshops that they have to pay a token gesture to find wisdom and find information and better themselves. But they avoid and they look in the opposite direction to knowledge, and they go for entertainment. But in this particular instance, it's not entertainment that will benefit them in the long term. Let me play ghost, take a step back and talk about my experience when I was a younger man. There were always two groups of people. There were people who made things happen, and there were people who watched others make things happen. I always made a point to myself not to be in the second or the latter category. I always made sure, and I made a promise to myself that I would fail if I had to. Yesterday or some days ago, I sent something to someone. Let me see if I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think it might be a useful reminder, especially to the young men. It's a quote. It's a quote that I think is worth sharing. It says, and I share this with a small group of people. It says, I couldn't wait for success, so I went ahead without it. I couldn't wait for success, so I went ahead without it. It's a quote by Jonathan Winters. Powerful quote. I want you to think about that if you are a young man. Now, the reason I brought that quote up is for a number of reasons. Firstly, if I go back to my younger days, I wasn't guaranteed to be successful in anything. No one gets that guarantee. No one is entitled to success. You make yourself successful, but you pay the price in full, you pay the price in advance. And there'll be hurdles along the way, but you take the hurdles as they come. But let me go into social interactions and dating. There were always two groups of people I found when I was growing up, and even till today. There are those men who have the courage to walk up to a woman and say, I'd like to get to know you. This is my name. Can I take you out for a drink? And they risk rejection. But they are not willing to live with the inner guilt, sadness that comes with not trying. So we go out and we will say, what's your name? Can I get your number? Can I take you out for a drink? In many cases, if you think about what I share about sexual dynamics and the fact that the younger the man is, the lower his sexual marketplace value, and he is on a balance of power basis of infinitely lower value than the woman. But we take that step. Why? We never wanted to be those sitting back in the computer watching porn. At the time, porn was free. We never wanted to be the one sitting at home looking through magazines of naked, sexy women. We wanted to be the ones who she was getting naked for. We wanted to be the ones who she was lying to her father, saying, I'm going to see my friend, girlfriend, but she was coming to our homes. So we took that step. We made an effort to go out and contend with the world, risk rejection, in the hope that we would develop skills, we called it gain, skills to be able to get something and give something. The big difference was we were making social interactions and we were learning how to fail. The skill set that requires that you're required to have in intersexual dynamics, walking up to someone and trying to solicit an interaction is no different from the skill set required to be a cold caller, to go into sales, to go into marketing, to be able to persuade people, to be able to influence, to be able to motivate people. It's the same skill set. You want to take people from no to maybe to yes. You play a role. You try to move away from obscurity and get a person to pay attention to something you have to say. We failed. I failed multiple times. I remember back in the day when we went to end of year parties, girls on one side, boys on the other side, and you failed in the presence of all other boys and all other girls. People saw you walk from one side to the other side to ask for the girl's hand for a dance. Most of the time, if you were unlucky, she said no. Then you had to walk back from where she was all the way back to where the men were. And people, some laughed, some cheered, some ridiculed you. You were the talk of the town, Why? There were a few girls, most men wanted her, and therefore most men lost to other men. I lost. Some men lost. But here was the point. You can have whatever you have the courage to ask for. And you ask by your intention, and you ask by taking that risk. And one of the things I'm seeing with a lot of young men these days is none of you want to fail. So it's much easier to sit in your homes, pay the subscription fee, see the attractive woman, not ask her out because effectively she's online, and you remain losers. Most of you have made yourselves voluntarily celibate. You're not incels. I think you're losers because most of you are paying for a service that is free online. Porn was something people got for free. Porn was something that people who did not have the game or the ability to approach women, to enjoy the art and the act of lovemaking and sex, paid for, found to pleasure themselves alone. Now, whether you sit at home or sit somewhere in the woods and you beat your stick, there was something that felt wrong about it. The process of recognizing that you're getting something the wrong way. You haven't paid the full price. The full price was get up your butt, get dressed, put on the right cologne, go outside the street, go across the road, say hello to someone, and let the person say yes. And you play the art of getting from no to maybe to yes. And I take issue with a lot of young men these days paying for OnlyFans. Why? It isn't the fact that you're not within your rights to exchange your money for whatever you want. It's what it's doing to you, to your confidence, to your ego, to your conscience, to your manhood, to your character. It might seem as the alternative that you should take. I think it's a poor choice to make. And so my call to you in today's session as I bring it to a close is a call to adventure. I would like you, if you can, to consider making a decision, making a proclamation and a commitment to yourself. The commitment is a simple one. It simply says, I am going to stop watching any form of porn from today henceforth. And here is a call to adventure, and an interesting one as well. I will be the one who creates my own sense of fun, however that comes in. And I will take the challenge of making connections, going out, increasing my ability to interact with people, look people in the eyes, tell them how I feel, risk being rejected, accepting the rejection when it comes back, going back home. Pain plus introspection leads to progress. Go out the first day, get rejected, and have the courage to ask the girl, well, I know you've said no, but if there was something you could give me as a feedback, if there's something I could do or say, all things remaining equal, to have got you to say yes, what would that have been? Collect the feedback, go back home, sit down, introspect, think about how you delivered your message, how you approached. Were you stuttering? Were you nervous? And perfect your craft. Go out the next day and improve. And see, and all I want you to do is track your progress. The progressive realization of a worthy goal. Track small incremental progress as you're making. But here's the key thing. I'd like you to make a record and track how you feel as you go along that journey. One of the things you'll find is you start to feel better about yourself. It's not a destination that is fundamentally success. It's a combination of the destination and the journey. I hope today's session has been useful, but let me leave you with a few words to keep in your memory. As a man, you'll be faced with a myriad of choices to make. It's easy to take the path that is easily traveled. It's harder to take the path that is least traveled. I would like to call on young men to boycott any form of porn, OnlyFans,